and welcome to this video on making scatter plots. As with many data visualizations, there are a lot of software options available to create these in. Today we're going to be using Google Sheets. Before we start making our scatter plot, let's look at these two sketches so we have an idea of what we're going to make. These are very simple diagrams of scatter plots, which will show two variables and their relationship. So some examples are height and weight, temperature and pressure, education level and income, and countless others. These dots are plotted on an XY coordinate system with one variable on the x-axis, the other on the y-axis. We can then see different kinds of correlations: positive when the dots tend up, negative when the dots trend down. There might be dots all over the place, so no correlation, or it might have some sort of curve or other observable trend. It's sometimes easier in the sketch on the right that has grid lines, but that's not always included. All right, now that we have a fundamental understanding of scatter plots and have seen a rough picture of a couple, let's go and make one. Okay, we've got Google Sheets open now, and we have some fictitious data here that we're going to be making our scatter plot with. We have the average daily temperature in Fahrenheit and the number of visitors to a pool. And we want to see if there is a correlation between these variables or not. And remember, correlation does not equal causation. So to start with, let's highlight the cells, including the headers. Okay, and we've got some other data down here that we'll add later. We're just going to do these first ones here and say that these ones are for June and the later ones are for July. So let's stick with these first ones here, and we'll go to Insert and Chart. Okay, now one of the nice things, sometimes it's irritating, sometimes it's nice, is that when you insert a chart, it tries to guess what kind of chart you want. And it did guess correctly this time. We wanted a scatter chart. However, if it guessed wrong, then you can change it over here in the setup under chart type, and you can choose another kind of chart. It's also nicely given us the axis titles. So we have the average daily temperature down here on the x-axis, and we have the number of visitors to the pool over on the y-axis. We are going to change the title though. So let's just double click on that, and we'll call it Summer 2019. Okay, it looks pretty good here, but the grid that we have just has the major grid lines, not the minor grid lines. So to make it a little easier to read, we're going to add those in for the horizontal and the vertical axis. So if we go over to Customize, and then under Grid Lines and Ticks, the vertical axis is highlighted already, and we want to add the minor grid lines down here. We'll change it to the horizontal axis, and we also want the minor grid lines for that as well. Okay, so the minor grid lines and the major grid lines for that matter are kind of rectangular right now. You can change the shape of your chart to make it a little bit more square. Let's do that. It changes the chart appearance a little bit. All the dots are still going to be plotted in the same place, but you can just see how that changes the appearance a bit. And while we're talking about how the chart looks, we can see just by the June temperatures that it generally goes up. So we would call this a positive correlation. So as it gets hotter outside, then generally there are more visitors to the pool. Until it gets a little too hot, it looks like maybe 105 or so, then the number of visitors to the pool kind of decreases a bit. We also have a couple of outliers in our data. This one in particular here is quite a bit lower. It doesn't follow in with this other curve that we're seeing. This is just temperature and visitors to the pool. There could have been something else going on that day. Maybe there was a thunderstorm or something. But let's add in our other data since we have July data as well and see if the trend kind of changes or stays the same. We've been over in the Customize portion of this chart editor over at the side. Let's go back to Setup, and then under Data Range, we're going to click right here, and we're going to add in the new data. So we'll just delete this, and we'll highlight it all again, and we're going to include the ones that go all the way down here, and click OK. And we'll need to scroll back up to see our chart. Okay, so this is sort of the same trend as we were just talking about. It's still a positive correlation between the temperature and the number of visitors to the pool. Generally, as it gets warmer, then there's more visitors to the pool, and we can see kind of a little drop off down here. Once it gets really hot, then there's slightly fewer visitors to the pool. All right, then that wraps up this video. We've covered the basics on making scatter plots in Google Sheets. The version of Sheets you're using might mean that some of the features I showed are in different places, aren't available, or you might have other features that you didn't see on my screen, but hopefully things should be about the same. Please reach out to the library if you have questions, and thanks for watching.